Glasses up. Woo! Hey everybody, how's it going? We are drinking some Grangestone. It's like single malt aged in bourbon barrels. What do you guys think?
That's delicious.
It's like the best of both worlds because you get a little bit of that bourbony sweetness, but not. It's not too heavy on the pretentious Scotch notes, which are playing at Bonnaroo this year. Solid.
Pretentious Scotch.
Yes.
You slay me, Dan.
Yeah, I do what I can. Today we are reviewing The Rise of Superman by Steven Kotler.
Really good.
This book has a lot of levels and depth and all kinds of crazy things, but one of the main things it focuses on is extreme sports. And I wanted to get from you guys, there's a whole lot of extreme sports stories in this book.
Oh.
Is there one, just to kind of get this started, is there one that stuck out to you of all those stories, or maybe an extreme sport in general?
Excellent question.
I got one ready, so you guys just think about it for a second. I really liked the guys that did the free climbing, because to me that seems astounding that you just go these routes are like super dangerous. Free climbing is you're basically climbing up the side of some super steep wall. You have no ropes, you have no safety net, so if you fall a very long ways to the ground and die. Like it's not.
There's no surviving.
There's no surviving. There's no mistakes. It's more intense than that scene in Cliffhanger where we had to climb up. You remember? Yeah, it's a good throwback reference there. But I really enjoyed hearing from those guys' perspectives because what this book talks about is kind of the mental state of flow and the elements that get your mind prepped for that. And these guys had to go they figured out the math, but basically make 600 correct decisions while they're climbing up the mountain, where each one of those could have resulted in death. And I went, okay, that's pretty impressive. I've done some indoor rock climbing. Felt a little sketchy. But my wife was the one holding the rope. Sorry, when you do those Groupon deals, they're like, okay,
don't let the wife hold the rope.
Yeah, who's gonna hold the rope? You got a big Samoan guy in the back, or what? They're like, no, here's your wife. We're gonna give her 30 seconds of instruction, and go ahead, climb the wall.
Oh yeah,
30 seconds of instruction.
It's totally safe. Favorite extreme sport mentioned in the book.
Or episode from the book?
Yeah, there's some video episodes in there too.
Oh no, wait.
Video? There was little videos in the book. Did you not see that?
The links.
There's little YouTube.
Oh, I had little links.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, I missed out.
What kind of Kindle did you use?
Nexus.
Oh.
I use an iPad, so.
No, that's why. I
use
use an actual Kindle.
The paperwhite one?
Well, not quite paperwhite, but Kindle Touch. A couple of generations old.
Yeah.
I missed out.
Yeah, I think that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Alright, never mind. I thought there was these are kind of goofy graphics.
No,
Episode 3?
Yeah.
What in the world? Okay, fine. But anyway, you go first.
I think I really like the free climbing thing too. I went to the Sierras a couple weeks ago, and there's this place called Lembert Dome, and it's like a sheer rock face, and it's really big for free climbers, and it's not a very high dome, but I was watching guys climb up, and I couldn't imagine how they're getting up. There's moss covered or lichen covered.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't moss, it was really hard lichen, and they're able to grip onto it and climb up. And I did maybe not even 1/16 of the way up just to see what it was like, and it was so intense. You feel your hands and your feet. They just send messages up to your head so fast because you're if you slip a little bit and you start to freak out, and I was there's no way I could do that. I don't know how they do it, but anyway, that was cool. But I think my favorite was Dave Ammons was his name. He's the kayaker.
Oh yeah.
And he went up and did the thing up in British Columbia. I forget what it's called, Stickit or something river, and nobody had done it, and then they surveyed it and tried it. And he ended up doing the first solo trip, and then he never really told anybody about it for 16 years or something. This book's the first thing that actually talked about it, and so I think that humility of him actually accomplishing that feat, and he kept talking about how he wanted to feel like he was a water drop in the river, and he wanted to become a water drop and flow with the river, and so for me that was really cool because I'm all about nature and becoming one with nature and stuff. That really appeals to me. So for him relinquishing control and becoming the water, and he had this one part where he turned over and he thought, if he tried to fight it, he wouldn't have gotten out, but because he just let the river take control. He felt like he became a water droplet. When he came back, he was like in that state. You know, he's in flow or whatever. And it was a cool story. I like that one, so that was good.
That's some hippie stuff right there, man.
I know, right?
One with the water.
Yeah, I think.
One with the water.
No, yes. I don't know about the favorite sport. I think the big wave surfing. I think that just like that kind of that really
Like epitomizes that whole flow thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting tense reading the Kindle, just reading about it. And anyway, that was some cool stuff. Just and back to I think you were talking about the decisions, right? You know, there has to be 600 individual decisions you have to make correctly. They talk about the big wave surfers and how it's a completely different skill set than normal surfing, and to survive, you need to. It's like you need to and this is what the book is about. You need to instantaneously master it, and you need to make the right decisions, and you flow in it, and all that sort of stuff. Or you're in the flow state, making decisions, receiving input, and just instantaneously deciding the correct thing. It's the glory.
The flow state that the author's referring to is kind of it's an obscure term, but the simplest definition of it would be if you were to have a conversation with some friends and kind of just get lost in that and go, oh my gosh, what time is it? I totally lost track of time because you're so in it. That's kind of the tip of the iceberg of what flow is. So that's on the small end of the scale, and on the big end of the scale is you're so tuned into what you're doing, you can surf a giant big wave that literally one wrong decision means death. I mean, that's so. And then these are all split-second decisions. It's not like he's got 30 seconds to go like, should I go toes to the nose or not? Like it's right now, if you do this wrong, you will get swallowed by this giant wave and die.
Or the guy who was like free jumping, base jumping, but in the hole in the mitt.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So his chutes fail, and there's a rope, and read the book and find out the rest. So great stories in the book.
Great stories.
I think we can all agree with that.
Yes.
I mean, there was times when it just read like the best of Surfer World.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine. But that's what you're into, I guess.
Well, so have you experienced flow in anything in particular?
Oh, I was thinking about this. I think there's been a couple times, where I've maybe kind of dipped my toe into the flow. Oh.
I think when you're playing your little
Hearthstone is not flow.
I think you're getting into the flow.
No.
You're super focused.
No, I think I've been mountain biking a couple times where I look back at what I did and I went, that was really steep, and what in the world did I do? But it's just you just kind of embrace you embrace that it's going to be scary and you just go.
Yeah.
And instead of hold on your brakes and walking your bike down or something, you just go with it and go. Oh, well, when I reach this hairpin, you just do it. You're just like, oh, let's go like that, and you're through it. What just happened? And it's almost like you think about it, but then you stop thinking about it and just do it.
Yeah.
Secondarily, I think for the man of our generation. If you ever gotten like a killtrocity in Halo or something, or you got like the craziest kill streak of your life.
Absolutely, that's flow.
That's flow. It is, and they even point to that. Alpha points it to in the book, but certainly, how did I do that? You can't really repeat it, but it's a certain headspace where
you're toned like you're in it right now.
Yes, your mouse. It's just like you're killing people. A headshot. You get behind. Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
Like Saving Private Ryan when the guy's in the sniper tower, taking out people, like he's in the flow right now.
Oh, that's a good example of flow, but then it gets in.
Yeah.
Flow.
Have you had any flow experiences?
I think for me, I think fly fishing is a big flow experience, which you wouldn't necessarily think.
Tell me more.
But because fly fishing, I don't know if you've ever been fly fishing or tried to fly fish, but just imagine it's a little line. And you're trying to throw this little line out. It's not like you've got weights and anchors and stuff. So there's a lot of motion that you have to do to get the line to do its thing. And so when you're doing it, you're just in the zone. Just picture the guy in Brad Pitt when he's in that movie.
Legends of the Fall.
Yeah. No. River Runs Through It.
River Runs Through It.
He's just out there and he's doing this thing. And so when you're doing that, and you're just so in tune with you're not thinking about anything. You're just thinking about that line and getting it out, and just thinking about the river and thinking about where the fish will be. And so in that moment, it's just very, very focused. You know, I go out there and I don't think about, you know, the bills that I have or my credit card debt or anything. I'm immediately just focused on little pockets in the river. It's cool.
I've definitely felt flow during video games, especially the multiplayer ones, like any of the Call of Duty series, or any of those first-person shooters where you're playing against other people. I think you get in that kill streak mode. And
you're unstoppable.
I just took out 12 dudes, like headshots, got the kill streak package going on, everything's happening. But I've also, I do quite a bit of writing, and I've also experienced it during writing. And I've been able to hack flow a little bit. They talk about flow hacking in the book, but my writing regimen is usually about 500 words a day. I just get up in the morning, type that, and then go to work, go about my day. Well, I was reading another book that was talking about how you should do some handwriting in like a notebook, old school, and it said try to handwrite 3 pages a day. So I'm already doing writing, this feels kind of redundant. I thought, let me give it a try. So I did about 1.5 pages, spent about 20-30 minutes handwriting, went to my computer, and my 500 words is usually 250, 300, check and see how many words I have. Oh my gosh, words. So 1.5 pages of handwritten notes, then switching to digital and typing, I looked up and I had 900 words. And it felt, it was just, boom, everything flowed out and happened. And I went, okay, this is a little bit of the flow hacking. And I've been able to recreate it for about a week with varying degrees. All of them, I'm able to get tuned in and get in the zone very quickly.
That's interesting.
So I love this book because it's got all these great stories, kind of like Surfer Magazine stuff, these amazing adventure tales, but this is, maybe I'll just coin this right now. It has Malcolm Gladwell syndrome.
He went there.
So let me just tighten my pretentious hat real quick. So Malcolm Gladwell wrote most of the books.
What's the word syndrome mean?
Malcolm Gladwell, you've probably seen him at every major airport across the country. Tipping Point, Outliers, What the Dog Saw, all these. I've read several of his books. We're going to actually review one in a couple of weeks. They're very good books, but when I read The Tipping Point is about how ideas go from a small idea and then explode and get this kind of viral reaction. When I read that book, I went, oh, this is really good, but there's no 5-step plan on how to make your idea reach the tipping point.
Yeah.
And this book, to me, felt a lot like, here's what flow is. When you're in these extreme sports, it's very easy to get dialed into flow. Mm-hmm. But for the majority of us that work regular jobs,
well,
you know, you see what I'm saying? Like it's not. There's no recipe of like how do you get into flow now?
Yeah.
You know,
like you go out and climb mountains is what you do, or you go and surf big waves. Is that the only way? But
and then you just drown.
I think he kind of offers some insight into it, but he never really gives you like a. It's not like a how-to, you know, like how to achieve flow. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of describing it and then explaining, like, because those athletes, they have to enter flow or they die. You know, like that's the thing. Us, with your routines and your regimented day, like you can go about your life and never really experiencing that kind of flow or that level. We'll probably never reach that level of flow. But he was saying that like a lot of the stuff that they're doing, even in offices and, you know, to increase productivity is focused on this flow stuff, you know, and so they're removing cubicles and they're reducing distractions. Because he was saying that if you enter flow and you start that productivity, he was talking about like code writers, people who write code for computers, and they say they get into that flow and they can do, you know, hours and hours of productive work, but every distraction leads to 15 minutes before they can get back into that flow.
Hopefully.
So hopefully, if they even get back into it. So like, if you get interrupted, that's 15 minutes lost every single time. Absolutely. So think about how many times you get interrupted in a business day. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of interesting to me to see, like, he said that some businesses are thinking about paying people, instead of paying them by the hour, paying them by their hours of productivity or their hours of flow.
Yeah, I like
hours
that.
in flow. And I think that's interesting, because then, you know, if you get in the zone and get it done,
you go home.
You go home. You get paid. So I think that's interesting. I think never really tells you how to get it though. It makes me want to get on a skateboard or something.
Flow, whoop! My hip.
So the flow states are interesting, and it's weird. All these people, that he uses in the book. They're all extreme athletes, and he talks about in very great detail all the mental chemicals, mental process that's happening. Dopamine, serotonin is the other one. Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine.
Yeah. And they were saying that these chemicals that are being released during flow states are typically the types of highs people are chasing through drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So he compared it to like weed and heroin and something else, and the kind of the long and short of it was, if you can get into flow states, those same parts of your brain are firing up.
High on life.
Yeah, high on life kind of stuff. What was interesting is that most people think about this in kind of a singular type thing, especially a lot of the examples are, guys doing the free climbing stuff or doing the kayak thing. It's an individual thing. But there's also a thing called group flow, which I thought was crazy. Did you guys see the Transformers movie?
Which one?
The bad one.
the wingsuit one?
The wingsuit one, which was number 3.
I think I've seen the scene. I don't know if I saw the whole movie.
I remember the scene being teased out quite a bit in the trailer, and then in the movie, it happened very quickly, and I was a little disappointed it was over so fast. But I thought the group dynamic of the flow during that whole scene was cool.
A picture of the group dynamic of the flow. Yeah. Certainly.
Because these guys went to... Michael Bay wanted this all like in-camera stuff. For as much over-the-top CG kind of things, he wanted these guys to actually jump off... Was it the Sears Tower? One of the big buildings in Chicago. They're all in wingsuits, jump off together in formation, and then do this thing where they fly down the street and hang a corner and then throw a parachute. The thing that was difficult is on these high buildings, the wind was already crazy in Chicago anyway, but it was like 5 feet from the building.
I've heard it called the Windy City before, Dan.
I might need to Wikipedia that. I don't know if that's... yeah, but it is the Windy City, and I guess 5 feet from the building was the kind of the wind currents were super strong there, and once you got past that, you were okay. So these guys trained together in I think the Swiss Alps or some first world country with a lot of mountains and snow, and they basically talked about how they had to be so in sync together because they were flying inches apart, having to make these very tight turns and minute kind of adjustments and very quick decisions where otherwise it'd mean life and death. And the one guy talked about how he was looking at the foot of the guy in front of him, and he would know just by the way the guy went with his foot, that was time for him to bank the turn. And it was basically all these things were happening before. It was almost like they could predict the actions before they actually happened. Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
Flow, bro.
It's flow.
It's awesome is what it is.
Yeah.
But then he goes on, I think one of the chapters just spends a whole lot of time talking about how flow communities are where it's at. These extreme sports communities and all this sort of thing. But dude,
it made me think about the X Games, if you watch the X Games, and then they have the athletes lounge, where all the athletes hang out in between competitions. And when they go around and interview the athletes, they're just, every single one of them is just so zen, they have these, this very happiness, very happiness about them.
They're very happy.
No, they just have this happiness about them, this interesting state of being that's just so beyond how I think I would come across, on camera or something. They're just very at one with themselves.
Those giant ramps these guys are jumping off of, and because I think my reaction to 15 minutes before the giant ramp, camera in my face, my name's Dan, it would just be instant anxiety vomits coming out right there. But these guys, oddly mellow and very. There's no front on these guys. They're bro, gonna hit the ramp, maybe pull a niner. I don't know. Whatever, bro. Mountain Dew. And then go for it.
Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bull, right?
Yeah, Red Bull sponsors a bunch of stuff that's flow related. What do you think? Would you recommend this book to people?
Oh, yeah, certainly. Yeah, great read. A lot of fun.
I would definitely recommend this book. I think it's really well written.
Yes.
We will.
So I'm gonna do a Scotch. Maybe a little more Scotch to it then.
Oh, no.
No, it's really well written, and I think every chapter is a different or not every chapter, but every section is like a different athlete and a different story, and then it all ties back. You know how you're really big on everything tying back to the main theme.
Yeah.
So
one main theme.
every paragraph almost connects to that theme.
No, it does.
And then within each athlete's story, he also manages to branch out to like everyday stuff. You know, he's talking about like how you can just change your drive home from work every day, and that gives you a certain dopamine, epinephrine, or whatever, change in your body that can help you feel more flow, more happy than just having the same routine every day, because you just get lost in that routine. So that unpredictability, and so he's taking each athlete's story and then tying it into the overall flow state for everybody kind of theme, and I think it was really, really interesting when we did that.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this book. There's a whole lot of little things in this book that all tie back to the same theme, but what's nice about that is if you're not into one of these extreme sports, which some of them I were never, like, I don't know anything about. What was the thing where you ski and then jump off a cliff and pull a parachute?
Oh yeah.
There's stuff that I've never heard of in this book that I was like, okay, that's
do
cool.
that, I guess.
That's niche.
That's really niche in a very small community. But this book does a very good job in pacing. So even if there's something you're not really into,
Pacing. Yeah.
it moves right along to the next thing
Yep.
pretty quick. But yet it's still all part of a much bigger theme. And like I said, my only complaint earlier is that I wish there was a little bit more detail on how to get to that flow state.
I want more.
In
Give
The
me
next book,
more.
the sequel.
I hope there is a sequel, because I think for as many chemicals that are released in your brain during flow states, I feel like this could be something that applies, well, one, if your life was in danger, there was something, happening. If you get into, like, your car goes into a four-wheel skid, I think your brain goes into that boom, instant flow state.
Amygdala takes over and you just...
But also for the workplace, because the group flow definitely plays into the workspace, and you kind of getting in the zone helps you become a better employee, get more work done, kind of all of those things tied together. And I wanted more of that. That was a very, very small portion of the book on things that were easily accessible for the average person. But I highly recommend it. One last note, for Kindle readers, I don't know what's up with this book.
It's strange.
Well, tell me about the issue you have. You had a very similar issue to me in the...
Oh, yeah, I'll explain it.
Yeah.
So, I was reading along, and I'm like, how much longer is this book? I'm sitting there like 40%, 50%, 63% afterward. Wait, what? Afterward? 63%? What in the world? So yeah, the Kindle pagination, a little weird.
Yeah.
It's going to finish faster than you think if you go by the pages read or the percentage read. If you're a purist, like Matt,
you just turn that off.
you just don't even care, because you just want to feel...
I want to be in the flow of the book.
I want to be a letter on the page.
Yeah,
like a droplet.
Exactly.
Jellyfish
That's my
the whole
goal.
book. Just
be
be
one
Jellyfish,
with the book.
just like Jack Johnson said, time is nothing.
So check this book out. We'll put a link in the show notes. And I think there's a lot to be learned from this book, and at the very least, there's a lot of really cool stories.
Yeah, no.
Big time.
Yeah, you could blast through it if you have a long plane ride or something. Totally be fun. If you don't want to start up fiction, like, oh, bro, read this, 8,000 page, was J.R.R. Martin, what's his name?
The Game of Thrones guy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to Game of Thrones, bro. Just read the flow book. It's great. You get through it, it'll be great. You'll love it.
Good times. All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you soon.
Woo!